Good typists are always in demand, and so are typewriters, an English invention in the reign of Queen Anne. But the first commercial model was not made until 1873. (1878), and another model of the same basic design with upper and lower case letters, shift key, and other improvements on model number 1, which printed only in capitals. Five years later, the Blickensderfer, a competitor of number 2, it illustrates the principle of typing by means of a type drum instead of separate bars. Cheaper to make, they were, however, slow and heavy in action.
Oh, have you ever wondered what is actually the originality of the keyboard on our computer and smartphone? The answer is the typewriter. Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Rafif bin Mudtalib with Matric number 2017-903. Today, I will be presenting on one of the significant artifacts in human history which contribute to the development of technology, communication, and documentation. The artifact is called the typewriter. This presentation will be focusing on the history and contribution of the typewriter, especially towards people in America and Europe from the period of 1800s until 1990s. First, we need to know what is the so-called typewriter. Typewriter is a device that prints characters on a piece of paper when the operator presses keys. Typewriters were popular from the late 19th century through the late 20th century. Typewriter enabled fast and professional-looking business communication. It also enabled writers to efficiently produce books, research reports, and scripts. The typewriter usually had keys arranged in the QWERTY layout that is still seen on computer keyboards and mobile devices today. Now, we continue with the history of the typewriter. According to the National Museum of Scotland, the invention of various kinds of machines was attempted in the 19th century. Most were large and cumbersome. All were much slower to use than handwriting. Dozens of inventors had tried to invent a workable writing machine, but it wasn't until 1872 that, with the right combination of a clever mechanism, manufacturing expertise, and a growing market, allowed the typewriter to become a commercial success. Finally, in 1867, the American inventor Christopher Latham Sholes, a Milwaukee editor and a government bureaucrat, read an article in the journal Scientific American describing a new British invented machine. He then inspired to construct what became the first practical typewriter. He then received his first typewriter patent in 1868. Sholes then faced several problems in producing the typewriter, such as unable to raise the money, successfully organize a factory, or find the skilled labor to produce his typewriter invention cheaply and in volume. Not just that, the typewriter has numerous small precision parts. To make the typewriter cheaply enough to reach a large market, it had to be mass-produced. In 1873, he signed a contract and sold his patent rights to the company of E. Remington and Sons. E. Remington and Sons is a manufacturer of guns and sewing machines who had the technological skills to develop and manufacture the typewriter. E. Remington and Sons began the production of typewriters on March 1873 under the names Sholes and Glidden typewriter. It is this machine that popularized the QWERTY layout we are still using on our computer and handphone. The first typewriters were placed on the market in 1874, and the machine was soon renamed as the Remington. After several years, many inventors made improvement for the typewriter, from the shift key in 1872 to the electric typewriter in 1920. In all, several thousands of typewriters patents were granted, but by the 1980s, the typewriter had begun to disappear, overcome at first by the word processor and then by the personal computer. Next, there are many types of typewriters that contribute to the development of people all over the world, such as keyboard typewriter, single element typewriter, type bar typewriter, index typewriter, teletype typewriter, and the most modern typewriter, which is the electric typewriter. Furthermore, there are a lot of significance of typewriters to its human history and development, especially in Europe and America. The first significance that I would like to share is that the invention of the typewriter contributed to the rise of professionalism. It can be seen in terms of writing format. One substantial difference that the typewriter offered in comparison to handwriting is that it allowed for any document produced to be more presentable. In particular, what this meant was that regardless of the type of text being written, whether it was a report, record or a letter, each finished product followed a consistent format so that it would be more clear and organized on the page and more legible to the reader. This is because every person has their own style of handwriting, which causes the letters on the page to appear slightly different and even perhaps difficult to read. The typewriter required a standard set of alphabetical keyboard letters to be used to ensure the text would appear exactly the same each time it was entered, no matter who was typing. Other presentation modifications that the typewriter utilized were that it applied standard preset dimensions on the page to ensure there was sufficient spacing around the text, between sentences, and among each letter. This makes the process of writing and documentation become systematic, standardized, and look professional. In brief, it can be said that the typewriter took the meaning of professionalism to a new level, which is needed especially in the business and administrative sector. Other than that, the typewriter also brought a meaningful improvements in the communication management system. One such advancement was in regards to efficiency and the rate at which information was shared, since typing was much less time consuming than handwriting, and data could be communicated much faster. The use of typewriter reduced the time and expense involved in creating documents, encouraged the spread of systematic management, and allowed a system of communication that shaped the business and administrative world. In addition, typewriter also provides an alternative for disabled community, especially the blind and shut, to communicate, since writing are difficult for them. Since the typewriter provided automated structuring of writing and the organization of the QWERTY keyboard made letter identification simpler for the blind, writing became a far less daunting task and became easier than ever before. Moreover, typewriter also contribute to the social changes, especially towards women. Because of the rise of professionalism and documentation and communication system, many secretaries and typists are needed by organizations all over America and Europe. Although most people commonly associate females with secretarial positions, most office secretaries were male before the typewriter was invented. These men had mastered the art of professional pen and ink handwriting and overlooked the potential of the typewriter. Female typists began to take over the original male secretarial positions because their efficiency and training made them a better fit for the job requirements. Yet, even though this seems like a massive opportunity for women at that time, only those who possessed the desired skills were hired. It is true that the typewriter quickly changed the lives of those who used it. Many working class women saw office jobs as an escape from the drudgery of factory jobs. Office work was a step up in the class structure for women. In turn, the typewriter opened up many new jobs for women in the office. Consequently, in 1881, organizations like the Young Women's Christian Association in the United States started to offer training courses to teach women how to become professional typists. Then, as the number of students rose, other typewriter manufacturers like Remington started opening schools of their own. In turn, with expert skills and knowledge obtained from the schools, many women became educated, empowered, and valued in the workplace. For example, by 1890, approximately 45,000 typists and secretaries were female. In the offices, in the United States. Besides that, typewriter was acknowledged as a vital tool for military during World War. Typewriter reached its greatest international popularity during World War I, a time in which the regular flow and communication of information was often disrupted. They became the most efficient and mobile means of communication during these times of distress. The typewriter industry, which had only begun to flourish at the turn of the century, was transformed by the wars, which made the manufacturing of typewriters shifted from consumer goods to war goods. For a short period, typewriters were scarcely to be found, as the government was purchasing most typewriters. In 1914, during World War I, Wilfred Beeching stated that thousands of these machines saw service in the trenches. They were used for reporting in patrol aircraft. Some very important documents, including the surrender papers, were typed and duplicated on a Corona typewriter. Here, the significance of a typewriter during the war is seen as a major factor leading into the outcomes of the war. Typewriters were used as communication devices by military officials in order to pinpoint victories and document progress or setbacks from various locations across the world. During World War I, typewriters were viewed as indispensable for the production of written paperwork, especially the Corona 3 typewriter. This Corona 3 was manufactured from 1912 until 1940 by Corona Typewriter Company. In the context of the military, the typewriter's near indestructibility, portability, and easy to set up was extremely beneficial. The typewriter was vital for paperwork and fit the needs of the military quite well. In this context, the typewriter held a unique historical importance in war efforts in terms of efficiency and document production. The typewriter experienced a massive transition in use from World War I to World War II. Beginning as a vital tool, especially in military settings, the transition to electric machines quickly developed into computers and sent typewriters in an obvious decline in American and world usage. In a nutshell, typewriter surely is a significant artifact which contributes to many aspects of human activities such as documentation, publication, and communication. Although typewriters today are not used anymore and are seen purely as cultural artifacts, today's modern technology owes a great portion of its success to the typewriter. The QWERTY keyboard has become the universal model for all types of writing on computers and smartphones. We will continue to use the foundation of the typewriter in our daily life for as long as we live. So for that, the typewriter truly is one of the greatest contributions to modern technology of the 21st century.